Guys, welcome back to the channel. I don't have any live action footage for you this week. I've been a little bit sick, haven't made it over to the shop. I'm not really going to go into a bunch of detail about that, nothing major, so I'll be all right. I just haven't been able to make it to the shop. Anyway, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for me to show off the Volkswagen thing that you'll see in the end of all my videos. I got that car before I started doing any of the YouTube stuff, so basically all I have is a bunch of pictures of it, and I know picture collages aren't the most exciting thing in the world, but it's all I've got because I wasn't doing any videoing when I first got the car. So I hope you guys enjoy these pictures, and if you have any questions, put them in the comment field down below. So let's get on with them. Alright, we're going to open up the video with the warehouse that the car had been stored in for several years. Luckily the previous owner had the foresight enough to get it out of the weather because it had been sitting outside for quite a long time. So luckily it sat inside longer than it sat outside. So you can see it was pretty dirty. And here's a shot of the engine, and I believe we got one of the interior. Yep, that's it. Really nothing much to see there. And here I am trying to slip a floor jack under the car so I can move it around. I'm used to working by myself, but there were 3 other guys there, so I decided to air up the tires, which is what you're seeing there, and then the 4 of us started messing around, and so we all just decided to just grab hold of it and slide it around on that wood floor that's in there. It slid around pretty easy with 4 people there, so we manipulated it around until we got the rear end pointing towards the door. And once we got it lined up with the door, we were pretty easily able to push it outside. I think this was probably the first time it had seen light of day in probably 20 years or more. I know it had been inside that building for quite a long time. So once we got it outside, I pulled the truck a little bit more forward there because I had it backed up a little bit too far, but we were able to push it around. It rolled fairly easily. None of the brakes were locked up, thank goodness, because I guess that's part of being stored inside and not outside, so the brakes weren't rusted up. And once we got it to the end of the trailer there, I was able to hook my winch up to it and just pull it on up there. I figured the guys had worked hard enough, and I know I had worked hard enough, so it was time to let the winch do the work for us. So here it is going up on the trailer. And there it is, loaded all the way up on the trailer, ready to go home. And there I am with a big goofy grin on my face because I just got a hold of a car I'd been wanting for probably 20 years or more, 25 years. So once we got it back to the shop, got it pushed in there, and the first thing I did was disconnect fuel lines because I knew it was going to be pretty nasty stuff in there since it's been sitting so long. And that white buckets right there is what you see. And I believe I've got a picture of the stuff. Yeah, there it is. There's a picture of the stuff that came out of it. Eesh. So next I checked the points, cleaned those up. So then we had fire. The coil was actually good, so that was surprising. But turns out that the fuel pump had pretty much died, so we stuck a new one on there, as you can see. So as soon as we had fuel pressure, I discovered that the carburetor leaked from probably every available orifice, so it was obviously in need of a rebuild, which wasn't really surprising since it had been sitting so long. So that's what I did. I just took several pictures of it to make sure I'd get it put back together in the right orientation. And there's a picture of the float bowl, which really, it doesn't look that bad with the float inside, but yeah, you see all the sediment down in the float bowl there. And I honestly thought the throat of that carburetor was supposed to be black because that's what color it was. But anyway, got it all cleaned up, got it reassembled, put it on the car, and it ran better, but it still wasn't right. I checked the timing and it was just all over the place, and I wasn't sure if the crank pulley that came on this thing was the original or not, so I bought myself one of those degreed crank pulleys and put it on there so I could just, hopefully I would have a better idea of where the timing actually was set. So the next thing I did was I went to the fuel tank and looked inside of it, and pretty much everything, including the tank, was just junk. It was just, it all needed to be replaced. So that's what I did. I got a new tank, new sending unit, new hoses, new everything for it. Alright, so now that we had it running, kind of turned my attention towards the brakes. I disassembled all the brakes. Amazingly enough, all the shoes were good. So I just focused on the hydraulic system of it. I replaced all of the soft rubber lines. I replaced all of the wheel cylinders. And everything turned out great. And the car has good brakes for for a Volkswagen, let's say that. And here's my daughter Sarah when she was young, trying to help break those castle nuts loose on the rear end. So you guys know how tough that is. So she really didn't have a chance at breaking those things loose at all. You can see us taking her whole weight and it ain't even moving it. And I'm pretty sure that this is the brake light switch that goes into the brake system. If you can see there, you've got the hole is open on the end of it, whereas before, I'll put that picture up there again, where you can see before it was completely packed solid with junk. So I cleaned it out and was able to reuse it, and it works fine. At least the brake lights work. So, hey, that's good. So now that it was running and driving, I was actually able to back it out of the shop under its own power, and it was filthy. I still hadn't done anything about cleaning it up yet. I just wanted to make sure it ran, and it runs pretty good actually. I'm kind of surprised. Matter of fact, the engine that's in this thing is a complete replacement engine that was installed back sometime in the 90s. You guys will recognize this. This was its maiden voyage when I drove it from the shop to the house, and there's a video of this. I basically end out all of the videos of the Volkswagen driving through the yard, so you'll probably see it at the end of this video too. The first thing I did to improve the looks of it is I replaced the nose badge there, because it had been stolen at some point. And here it is in our driveway and getting ready to wash it off. And surprisingly enough, it had a decent amount of shine just washing it. I was kind of surprised. And as is the case with a lot of them that's been neglected, the windshield channel on the lower part of the windshield was rotted out, and all of the weather stripping was just hard as a rock, brittle. You can see some of these pictures here. The weather stripping just comes apart literally in chunks. And you see there, it was terrible. So I mean, at the very least, all of the weather stripping needed to be replaced. I was lucky enough to find an OEM. Because I don't think anybody remakes this thing aftermarket, but it's the complete replacement lower channel for the windshield assembly. And here's pictures of when I had it at the shop. I had prepped it and got ready to paint it up, and it turned out pretty good. And here we are reinstalling the lower part of the windshield assembly, and I don't know what I'm doing there. I think we're assembling everything, but oh well, anyway, I'm doing something there. Anyway, there's Wendy helping me out, helping me put the new windshield in. I can't tell if that's the old glass or the new glass. I think it's the old glass. Anyway, I wound up just taking the old piece of glass. It had a huge crack in it. I wound up taking the old piece of glass down to my local glass shop and had them cut me another piece out, since it's just a flat panel. And there it is. Oh yeah, so she's got a different shirt on there, so it must be that she was helping me take the old glass out. But there's the new glass with the replacement lower windshield frame in place. Everything went back together with all brand new rubber. And now we're getting into the paint correction. I'm not a professional by any means, but this is some old paint. It was probably painted back in the 90s at least. Paint back then had a lot more stuff in it than it's got now. So pretty durable stuff back then, but you're going to see some of the before and after shots here. The one coming up, not after that, after the one coming up is going to blow you away at the difference. This is absolutely no painting at all. This is what it was before. This is how chalky the paint was. That's when I buffed it. A little bit of a photographic trick too, because the first picture, the sun was on the eastern side of the house because it was morning, and in the afternoon it was on the western side of the house, which made the paint look a little more rich than what it actually does. But you can see how much of a stark contrast there is to the chalkiness that was there before to just cleaning up the paint and bringing out the gloss that's there. All of the hubcaps were in pretty sad shape. They were all rusty and crusty and had been spray painted at some point. So I just took them and put them in my little blast cabinet and bead blasted them really lightly just to dull the finish and remove the rust coloring. So, you know, I think they turned out okay for the amount of effort that was involved. And then I turned my attention toward the bumpers. Both bumpers were bent. This is the front one, and I just pulled it out with a strap, hooked to the back of my truck, pulled it nice and straight. Looks good to me. Now the back bumper was a different story. It looked like someone had hooked a strap or a rope or something around it and tried to pull the car around with it and bent the bumper up. And to be honest with you, I think all I did was just took a dead blow hammer, just like one you can find at Harbor Freight, and I just gave it a few whacks and kind of straightened it out. A lot better than what it was anyway, so it works for me. So then I turned my attention toward the interior, which there's really not a whole lot there. It's just I cleaned up what was there. I didn't buff the dash or anything like that. It's still kind of chalky looking if you look at it today. But all the dirt, dust, and whatnot, and I took the rag top off of it because it was in pretty bad shape. But there you can see where I cleaned it up a little bit. Just basically just using household chemicals to clean it, wipe the seats down, and I mean, surprisingly it turned out fairly well. Again, good enough for me. And for the most important accessory that I could ever use with this car, this key ring, keychain, key fob, whatever you want to call it. It was made by a friend of mine back in high school. He's since passed in a car accident. I think he made this out of a Volkswagen Rabbit factory key. He just basically cut the key part off of it and ground it smooth so it just looks like the little VW emblem. But I've carried this with me since, oh man, since '89. I've had this thing, and I always knew I was going to keep it, and I always knew that one of these days I was going to have a Volkswagen, and that would make a perfect keychain for it. So there it is. So I'm pretty proud to have that piece. And here we have a little collage of a lot of the photographs that you're going to see in this video. Wendy made this for me, and she put it on a piece of foam core. I think that's what they call it, foam core board. She works in a print shop, so it was pretty cool for her to make this for me. That's pretty neat. So then what we did was we took that board and we stuck it in the back seat of the car and took it to a local car show, and I won first place of the Volkswagen theme category. But really, I think I was like the only one, or maybe there were two there. But anyway, you're not going to win if you don't go. So I was proud to take it from being abandoned in a warehouse to being on the road to getting a trophy. Well, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this little video. Like I said, it's not much, but it's all I can do for right now. Hopefully, I'll be back in the shop next week and be working on something, the Grand Cherokee or the Wrangler. I got a sponsor that is going to hook me up with some headlight bulbs for the Wrangler, so we're going to try that out. And anyway, there's my daughter Sarah getting into photobombing me there with the picture back when we were working on the car. So anyway, cue the outro with the Volkswagen thing, and we'll see you guys next time.